What's up, brother? How you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for coming on.
It's good to see you face to face, man. We're always doing stuff over video.
Yep.
That's a struggle living in Carlsbad and coming down to San Diego, though. So.
Well, I appreciate you making the trek.
Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome to another episode of Real Estate. Today we've got Kyle Crumbaker. He's a vice president of business development with Brightway Insurance, and more importantly, somebody I trust with a lot of my clients. So happy to kind of share a bit of your story, and I guess just thanks again.
No, I appreciate you for having me on. This is the first time I've done something like this, so obviously I'm pretty nervous.
Nothing to be nervous about, man. I mean, I think the best place to start is just kind of letting people know that might not know you a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, so originally I'm a California kid, grew up here, lived kind of all over, but originally started in Carlsbad, moved to Connecticut, came back. I went to school in the Midwest. During COVID, I didn't know really what I wanted to do. My parents had bought this agency when I was like 20, so I was like midway through college. I remember talking to my dad, and my dad's like, "Oh, like eventually you're gonna be running this and doing this." I'm like, "I don't really want to do insurance. Like, why would I want to do this?" But COVID kind of led me into it because there wasn't a lot of job availabilities during that point, and my dad knew someone that was working at Liberty Mutual, and it gave me the opportunity to move to Arizona. And I had a lot of friends that lived there, so I got to live out there for a year, learn the insurance biz, come back. Live in San Diego, and I've been doing this for about 2.5 years now, and I love it. So
yeah, and I mean you're doing really well. You take such good care of everyone that we send your way, and I think probably it's better said in your own words. But there's a lot of things that I think kind of make you as a point of contact different, but also just kind of what's a little different about Brightway as a whole and how you guys handle business.
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, like you're seeing it probably more than anyone right now. Loan officers or realtors all over. It's a more challenging market, but I think one of the things that we have that a lot of other companies don't have, being a broker, I can do more things and like have more flexibility than other people and other factors, but also just kind of working through and doing different things, I think kind of helps a little bit too as well.
Yeah, but when you're talking about kind of working through different things, there's been just a couple minor changes to insurance here in California.
Yeah.
Maybe if you can kind of talk through what some of those like larger challenges are and what how you're able to help people get over those hurdles.
Yeah. So I think if you haven't seen it recently, obviously we've had some large carriers pull out of the market. USAA is not accepting new business. State Farm is not accepting new business. Allstate's not accepting new business on home. Several other carriers are cutting down. I have multiple companies restricting how many policies I can sell with them. So when you're going and looking at the moment, it's just going to get more challenging because of the capacity, and carriers just aren't making as much money as they were before in California. So the market's changing a lot, and carriers are changing underwriting guidelines constantly. So when you're looking, it's important to know like early on in the process to look for insurance, and that the prices are just going up. I mean, this last quarter, I think there's 7 or 8 different carriers that filed for at least 15+% on home for insurance, and then auto's a completely different story. A lot of carriers are also taking rate on that. As you're going through and just kind of looking, it's just super important to keep that in mind because it is getting harder, and there's certain areas now like Valley Center, Escondido, Vista, in some areas that are getting more challenging, and more companies are just not wanting to write in that area. So just something I've been seeing.
Yeah, and are there situations where there is just no options for certain properties, and what would kind of lead to that? So
what I've been running a lot more of now, like a lot of other brokers will say this too, so whatever broker you're using now, they're probably using more non-admitted markets. They're not any different. The only difference between them and like an admitted carrier like a State Farm or like a Travelers is they're not subjected to the rates and rules of the Department of Insurance. So at renewal, they could take like a 600% increase if they wanted to. So that's kind of one of the only differences, but also they can essentially move in and out of the markets that they want to be in, and they can price well too. So it kind of like adjusts, and obviously there's a California Fair Plan, which is the last resort, like the state's last resort insurance, which is just more expensive. So there's always availability options for insurance, but just may not be what you want it to be.
Yeah. when people shop for insurance, and I want to talk about this a little later, but a lot of times it comes down, they're just looking at what's the premium, right?
Yeah.
What are some other things that really play a role and matters, not just in the actual policy, but also in the company that you're working with?
Yeah. Sorry, can you rephrase that?
Oh, yeah, no. So basically, when someone's looking at a policy, obviously they're looking at saving money for the most part, right? So they just look at the bottom line, what's the premium? But are there other things outside of the premium that they should be looking into in the quote to make sure they've got like the right amount of coverage or that sort of thing? And then we can get to the second part in a minute.
Yeah, I think a lot of people now, like the biggest question I get with almost every single person is the coverage A, which is a reconstruction cost. The market values in California are obviously a lot higher than the reconstruction costs generally because your land has a lot of value here. I mean, I think San Diego just now became the most expensive place in the country to live. So, I mean, if you're living in an area that's like if you're like in Del Mar and your house is like 2,000 square feet right on the water, your home's worth $5 million, but the reconstruction cost is like $800,000. That's pretty typical, especially if your home's like 1,800 square feet when you're looking at it, because they're only looking at the square footage. They're not factoring in like how far you are from the beach, restaurants, schools, other factors in the area that like makes that market value $5 million compared to like just rebuilding the home. So I'm getting a lot of questions on that, but I don't want people to be concerned when they see like that big dysfunction between the reconstruction cost and the actual dwelling. And then having personal liability at $300,000 I think is also super sufficient. That protects you like if you were to have people over and someone were to sustain injuries and later come back and sue you, or if you were having a party and someone left and you were having drinks and they came back and said that Brandon Goldberg gave me too many drinks. That's also a good protection that costs like an extra $20 for the year. So those are two coverages I get a lot of questions about, and those are two like that I think are super important to like know more about when you're going through. But obviously making sure you have enough reconstruction costs too is super important. Like I get that question a lot, and I'm reviewing that with your agent, making sure they have extended dwelling too. So on top of their actual coverage, they get the additional 150% of coverage on top of it, which almost every company I have offers, and any other broker would say you should probably have that too as well.
Yeah,
to cover for inflation.
Right, and one of the things we talk about as far as differentiating ourselves is like speed to respond, being able to count on things. That's one of the reasons, really, that one of the top reasons that we send people your way is obviously you're price competitive and you've helped a lot of people save money too. But also I know, hey, if we need a quote, and a lot of times real estate comes down to the last minute. Sometimes people, you could tell them to shop for insurance first thing, but if they kind of put it off till the end, then it could cause an issue. What is it kind of like the philosophy? Is it a Brightway thing? Is that you specifically?
I think I hate using this as like a factor, but I think like my age helps me a lot, and like being good with technology, different things, but like also just like I'm 25, I'm single, I'm new to this business, I want this to be my business eventually. So it's like I want to be responsive, and I want to like not only get your business, I want to help your client. I also want to make sure that like you're getting my full attention. So like being responsive is kind of like for me, it's like the opposite of like when you're going out, like you meet people or whatever, like you meet a really pretty girl or whatever, and you're like, hey, like you wait like a couple of days to text them. I like to be the opposite of that, like in business, because like I think it's super important to be responsive with people, because like I don't like when people aren't responsive to me, and it bothers me. So that's kind of like why I like to do that.
Yeah, there's one other thing that you do that's kind of similar to us that I think makes a huge difference. And when you're providing somebody with a quote, usually you're giving like a grid with a bunch of different options so they can see the differences between the options available, the difference between the cost and all that sort of thing, so they can make an educated decision. How is it that you kind of determine which options to offer? And because at the end of the day, is from each carrier the actual coverage pretty similar or the same, or what's the main difference?
Yeah, the point of the grid too is to show like every carrier's reconstruction cost. So if someone's like, well, why is my reconstruction cost this? And I'm like, well, look at all these other carriers and like what they quoted. So I show like, I shop the market, and like I put in all their coverages to show like this is what they quoted, like if I did the bare minimum that like they offered.
Yeah.
So going through doing that, my dad kind of came up with that idea, like to show like, because like look, people are going to shop regardless, right? And like
sure.
I get that all the time, like right. And so like right now I've been sending the grid as much too recently because I don't really have as many options. So showing people all the declinations too can be like overwhelming.
Right.
But the grid was just kind of like a cool thing, because like being a broker, it's one of the things like I think that provides value like to you and like to the client, because they're like, okay, this guy looked at Travelers, Progressive, Nationwide, Safeco, all the big names in the market. Like, so I don't have to go call those people myself if I want to look for other quotes. So.
And more importantly too, I think they might not even have to call anybody. I think real estate agents should really do this as well. It's something that we do. Even if somebody comes to us with a quote, you need such little information from us, right? To generate some quotes, put options together for them, and that sort of thing. I think real estate agents could really add value through you in the same way that we do. And now the real estate agent, that's one more value-added thing they do, is they shop the insurance for their clients and provide them with options so that they can get the best deal possible and the right amount of coverage at the same time. So I don't know how much that's done right now.
I think being you need like a million things, like process alone. Like for an insurance agent, I need like 15 minutes. Like I need to talk to them for 5 minutes, get some information. To sell a policy takes us like 2 minutes. Like for you guys, it's a whole process. You got like a billion documents. Like for me, like I'm not gonna do any of that shit. It's very easy. And like it makes it stress-free for you, so you're not like, oh, call a bunch of these carriers and spend like 4 hours like doing all this work. So, whereas like for you, like you can do the same thing, like you can show people like what you can do. So it's kind of a cool thing for sure.
And something else that I don't know how many people really factor this in or think about. Debt to income ratios are squeezed pretty tight these days too. Affordability's down, and in some ways, insurance having the right quote could be the difference in someone qualifying or not. It's almost similar sometimes to buying the rate down 0.1%. It makes that big a difference in debt to income ratios. So maybe you can kind of speak to who else can benefit from reaching out to you, how or other ways that maybe you're able to help people.
Yeah, so I think right now, like a realtor, like a loan officer, like if you're closing on something and like you've had your clients look around for like a while and you're like, you need the debt to income ratio to be a certain amount. Like if it's like, if you're in an area like where like they haven't been able to find any quotes and you need it to be like 4,500 or whatever, calling me or calling a broker, like I have a lot of options and I have a lot of carriers that I can use, and I have other markets outside of like the admitted market that I use a lot to help my clients. And I've used it to help some of your clients too as well, like when like there is limited options. And that's definitely been super helpful for me. Like agents can quote a little bit higher deductibles. We do a lot of different things if you talk to us. Like, I mean, as long as the client's okay with it, we all kind of speak about it. We can, I have a lot of flexibility right now for some companies that I can use, and there's a lot of different discounts that I can also apply on that like your clients should also know about when they're going through to help them save on their insurance.
Yeah, and they can also, they can always make changes to their policy as well, right?
Yeah, they can always make changes to their policy after too. Like if you need to get to like a certain amount to close, they can always call me a month later and be like, hey, I want to make these changes back and do different things so I can, have adequate coverage.
Right, yeah. If later on down the line they say, oh, you know what, I think we do need more coverage than when we bought the house, then you can make that change for them. But the creativity that you spoke to before, I think is really where the value is for people, because if you get down to the wire and it's like, gosh, $20 would make the difference. In not just shopping around and seeing, okay, is there a quote that's low enough, but seeing, okay, can we tweak something here or tweak something there? And that kind of goes back to what I appreciate about the grid and the different options that you provide.
I think too, like clients, like just realtors and loan officers, just like know more about like what companies are offering and like talk with your brokers that you're using too as well. Because a lot of carriers are coming up with new things like weekly. Like I'm getting sent new stuff, like new pamphlets all the time. Whenever I get something new, I send it over to you, because usually it's bad news. You're like, oh Kyle, the rates went up again. You're like, you suck. I'm like, I don't know. Like everything right now is kind of going up everywhere, so we're all kind of like experiencing it. But so I mean, I think just knowing what kind of discounts like the carriers offer, or like different things that like you can do, especially like on newer builds or like with older homes, like different things that you can like add to your home to like get a discount. There's a lot of companies that are coming up with new things and are getting more creative. So by doing that, I've been looking more into that, and that's how I've been helping more people too. So that's been more or less like what I've been doing for that. Yeah,
and well, you touched on this too, for loan officers or realtors that work with you. One of the things I appreciate is that you, like we kind of talked about this earlier, sometimes you get these fluff emails from people, happy Easter, happy whatever. You send over some really valuable information when there are changes, because same way that I don't expect a real estate agent to stay on top of mortgage trends and know the difference in programs or every little change, I want to be there for them and to explain those differences for them. You kind of do that on the insurance front.
Yeah, no, I know I sent you something like a couple weeks ago and you're like, hey Kyle, what the hell is this? And I go, Because I sent it over and I'm like thinking like, oh, like he probably knows. And I'm like, wait, no, I should have explained it a little bit more. Because usually I'll jump on a phone call with you and be like, hey, like this is kind of what I'm seeing right now. But like right now, the only thing that I've been seeing in insurance has been bad news. So it's usually generally been like the rates are going up. But I think I talked to you about this. I don't know if I did, but the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, actually just pushed out a bill like 2 or 3 weeks ago, talking about so carriers and the Department of Insurance are going to come together in November of this year, and they're going to let carriers start using forward-looking models in November to start rating and coming back and like using those models to come up with rates. And I think that'll bring more carriers back into the market, and so hopefully that'll make things get better at that point.
Yeah. I want to go back. I think you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but if there's some kind of advice that you could give to realtors and loan officers when it comes to insurance, what you would advise just to make sure that they don't run into issues and that sort of thing.
I would say start looking for insurance like right in the beginning of the process. I know a lot of agents say this, but I'm like, if you're like looking to like purchase a home and like you already have someone that's made an offer on it and then they accept it, like shop the insurance right away so you know like exactly what you're getting into, because you don't want to be like 5 days left in the closing and like the insurance is like $2,000 more than like you expected it to be, and you're like, holy shit, like, and then the client's like crying because it's like, I don't want to pay $6,000 for insurance, because like, who does, bro? It sucks.
Yeah.
No one wants to do that. So that's like one of the top things. And something I'm seeing a lot of right now too is with homes 25 years old or older, the roofs, if they're original, I've been seeing harder times with that. So make sure you're getting more information on that and like the plumbing and other stuff, especially if you're like selling a lot of flips, because carriers are like really pushing back on those. Like anything over like 60 years old right now, I'm getting a bunch of pushback. Like they're all like, yeah, I don't want it. Or like, I want all this done to like do it. So I've been selling other markets for that, but it's usually just a little bit more expensive. So just be on the lookout for that. Make sure your clients are shopping early in the process.
Yeah, we try, man. We try to get.
I know. Trust me. Like I know it's easier said than done. Because people are like, I mean, right now, like what I've been seeing more of, like, and any other agent would tell you this too. Like, I'm not getting like calls where like clients are like, well, I'm still shopping, or like I'm still doing this. I'm getting calls like people are like desperate to get insurance because they're like, I can't find anything in this area. Like, can you help me out?
Right.
Which is like not typical to like what we were seeing as agents 2 years ago, because like this is not a competitive market. So people are finding out like AAA, like all the carriers that they've had for like 20, 30 years are like, hey, sorry, we're not doing this anymore, and they're like upset. So that's what I've been seeing more of now. So like it's not like shopping for rates, it's like how can you help me?
Yeah. Well, that's that's exactly it. It's less of rate shopping and more like, can anybody insure this place, or can anybody insure this at a price that I can afford? Yeah. And I see that a whole lot, and that goes back to what you said about shopping for insurance early and often, because you want to know that you're not going to have issues down the line. But there's another thing that makes me think of, and people shopping rates, that's something that obviously happens in the mortgage industry a lot.
Obviously.
Happens with the insurance. So when we're talking about things like basically the rates that people are shopping for, a lot of ways we're talking about the commoditization of industries in general. And so I'm wondering kind of what trend you're seeing there, and when you're talking with people outside of, okay, this is what the price is, what else you're going over with them outside of just the rates.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like when you're looking for carriers, like big brands are like obviously super helpful, and like commoditization, like having a known brand is obviously super helpful. But like with carriers I'm selling, a lot of people like don't know about. Like I have pamphlets and like sheets about them, and a lot of them are publicly traded, so you can see like what they're doing and like how their stocks are doing. So it's not like I'm selling you something, you're like, Kyle, like who is this carrier? Like I've never heard of them. Like why should I use them? Like are they real? And I'm like, okay, like let me send you over like a pamphlet. Like one carrier I've been selling a lot of, they're called Heritage, or backed by Narragansett Bay. They're like the 18th largest home insurer in the country. A lot of people don't know who they are. They're like, who are these guys? Like where are they from? They specialize in coastal areas, and like they're growing and they're doing really well because they've been doing this for a long time. And I think they've adjusted really well to like markets like ours, Florida, Massachusetts, which are like high, like here's wildfire, there's hurricane. So like a lot of carriers like that are gonna start moving into here. So that's what I see kind of like happening in the future. And And then there's gonna be a lot of more non-admitted markets, which I kind of talked about briefly earlier, that are moving to California that like are gonna start driving more competition, I think, but right now I don't see it getting better.
Well, kind of before we wrap up, though, there is one other thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I'm spacing on it. What did I want to tell you? Oh, that's right. So we talked earlier about this just briefly, and a big part of our business and something that's important to us is not just getting them a home loan, but making sure they're protected after. So whether that's getting life insurance or something like that. I know that there's other types of insurance. Your main bread and butter, right, is home insurance. But outside of that, what other kind of coverage do you offer?
Yeah, so we do like small commercial. So like I can do like commercial buildings, builder's risk. So like if someone's like redoing their whole house and they need like a policy while they're like revamping everything, we can do those. Life insurance policies. We sell a couple a year, but I do that as like a combination. I have like a bunch of carriers. Super easy to do. We send out like 15 rates with them, and then you just look at it. They're all A-rated carriers. They're all great companies. They're all well known. So we can do that. What else can I do? Commercial, life. That's probably it. And then I do like home auto. I can do boat insurance, flood insurance. Do a lot of flood insurance right now. Earthquake. We can do like everything.
Yeah.
Which is probably, but like those. I get a lot of flood and earthquake insurance questions all the time, and then like small commercial I do for clients a lot too as well.
Well, I want to take a second just also to like give you a chance. I'm not sure if there's anything that I didn't cover that you'd want whether it's real estate agents or loan officers or even, consumers directly to know, whether it's about you and your company or just about changes in the industry.
I think right now, I would just say just strap in right now. It's gonna be brutal, but after about a year and a half, it's gonna start getting better, I think, and it's gonna start being more competitive. We're gonna start seeing better rates. Things are just gonna start flowing a little bit, but it's not very good. And don't miss your auto insurance payments because carriers are not letting you reinstate. And if you let your auto insurance lapse, it's almost impossible to find new insurance within 20 days. So make sure you pay your auto insurance. That's what I would tell people right now. Like, don't miss those payments because no one wants auto insurance.
Yeah, well, and they need it. So everybody out here drives. So
yeah.
In any case, I just really appreciate you taking the time to come out and chat with me. I'm hoping that more and more people kind of get familiar with you and give you an opportunity because I know that the service that you provide and it's the very least I could do to spread the word for the people you've taken care of for us. So. Well, also, I really appreciate you coming out, and aside from thanking you, I guess we should really thank
Allie Jackson,
Allie Jackson at Centennial Escrow for introducing us. I wouldn't know about you if it wasn't for her, and just appreciate you taking the time to come out.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me out. Appreciate it.
Of course.